Joining us now, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, a leading candidate for president. Senator, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure, John.
Let me start out by reminding our listeners that you have a rally today at the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia. Doors open at 9:30 a.m. You got to get there early because of Secret Service and all that good stuff. You don't need tickets, but best to RSVP on BernieSanders.com. Now, Senator, let me start with this. I discovered in Des Moines, when I stayed at your campaign hotel headquarters for a week, that we have something in common. I had a chance to meet your wife, Jane, in Des Moines at your headquarters there, and I decided right there after talking to her for 5 minutes that the two of us married way up. What do you think?
Yes, I think you're probably right on that one.
Yes, I think I...
Now, Jane has been playing a very active role in the campaign, and she's doing great.
Well, she is, and I was there just before you got the Secret Service coverage, where it was a lot easier to talk to people. And the other thing I've told my audience a couple weeks since I spent the day there is, when I go out to these things, normally the candidates, they come in through the back entrance. They go through the service elevator. But you guys would get done with your day of campaigning or whatever and just come right in the main door and, say, talk to people. I thought that was interesting. I hadn't seen that in some time. So I appreciate that.
Well, the truth is, I enjoy that very much. There are a lot of great people in our country, and just saying hello to people and meeting them is a thrill.
Well, I was there for a week. Sometimes you have to be with the campaign to understand what's happening. You can't really follow it from the mainstream media. And I was there at your headquarters for a week, and I told my audience that based on the enthusiasm that I saw of your followers, and it's just not, people say it's just young people. Look, I was there a week. I mean, I saw everybody cut from every cloth, age, gender, race.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely. No, there's a huge amount of energy. There's a huge amount of enthusiasm. I mean, we're going to have many, many thousands of people out in Norfolk this afternoon. We just came back from Amherst, Massachusetts, about 8,000 people out. But it's not only large rallies. It's John, we have received more individual campaign contributions up to this point to the campaign than any candidate in history, over 4 million. And these are from ordinary people. Average contribution is $27 apiece. And I think what we're seeing, we saw it in Iowa, we're seeing it all over this country, is people are sick and tired of establishment politics. They're sick and tired of billionaires buying elections, with their super PACs. They're sick and tired of working longer hours for lower wages and seeing almost all of the new income and wealth being created going to the top 1%. They want change, and I think we're seeing a lot of energy in our campaign in that respect.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. Senator, I want to start with trade. You've been on the same page with us on this. You've been opposed to this Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership deal, which is going to cost the U.S. more manufacturing jobs that we don't have. Look, in Michigan just the other day, an air conditioner manufacturer moving to Mexico, 1,500 people out of jobs. The only two candidates that even mentioned it, yourself and Trump. What's the deal here?
Well, here's the deal. You don't need to have a PhD in economics to understand that when American workers are forced to compete against people making 50 cents an hour or $1 an hour, companies are going to shut down in America, move abroad, and bring their products back into this country. I saw that a long time ago. I voted against NAFTA. I voted against CAFTA. I voted against permanent normal trade relations with China. Look, you go out shopping today, go to a department store, harder and harder to buy a product made in America, often made in China, often made elsewhere. I think we need a new trade policy which tells corporate America that if you want us to buy your products, you better start manufacturing those products here in the United States of America. Now, that is one of the areas that Hillary Clinton and I have strong disagreements. She voted for NAFTA. She supported NAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China. I did not. And I am helping to lead the opposition in the Congress now against this Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is more of the same.
What is the realistic opportunities, honestly, Senator, of defeating it?
I think better than you think. I think you got a lot of Republicans who, for a variety of reasons, whatever they may be, are not enthusiastic about the TPP. It is, as I understand it, not going to be brought up by the Republican leadership before the election. Now, they may try to do something after in a lame duck session after the election. But you got working people all over this country who have A, seen their jobs go abroad, and B, understand that we are in a race to the bottom.
Yes.
Where employers are saying, well, look, you got a choice. Either you're going to take a cut in your wages, cut in your health care, while moving to China. And that is one of the reasons why real wages have been stagnant, in some cases going down in America. Look, since 2001, John, we have lost 60,000 factories in America, millions of decent-paying jobs. And trade is one of the reasons for that very clearly. So we need a new trade policy, and as president, that's what I'd bring about.
Well, we have to do something because right now, with these trade deals, we're in the grasp of the globalist, big money Wall Street community searching the globe for cheap labor.
You got it.
All this thing is just they scour the globe looking for cheap labor. Right?
You know what's happening? I mean, in some ways, some places in China, wages have gone up too high. You know what they're doing? Leaving China to go into Vietnam.
It's unbelievable.
That's what they do. Your point is exactly right. Wherever people work the lowest, for lowest wages, no environmental protection, no ability to have a union, that's where these guys are going. So we have got to tell corporate America that they cannot deindustrialize America. You can't be a great country, in my view, if you're not producing the products that you consume. And we've got to create decent jobs in this country, not just McDonald's wage jobs.
Yep, you got to get out of the we have to tell people for what it is, which is basically engaging in slave trade. That's really what this is, and it has nothing to do with anything else but that, as far as I'm concerned. I want to get Senator to, you have been talking a lot about the Glass-Steagall Act. This is one of those things that, the average person out there, they're driving to work, they're like, yeah, I kind of remember that, 1933. Can you, in layman's terms, expound on that to our audience, what Glass-Steagall means?
Well, here's what's happened. As a result of the Great Depression in the 1930s, people in Congress and the American people said, all right, what do we do to prevent this from happening again? And they established legislation which essentially separated commercial banks from investor banks from large insurance companies. So they said, you got to be separate. And then they started the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and so forth. What happened in the 1990s is Wall Street spent literally billions of dollars, that's with a B, billions of dollars fighting to deregulate. What they said is, look, there's a global economy out there, a global financial system. We can't be effective unless you allow us to become bigger. Well, against my very, very strong opposition, I helped lead the opposition to it, but unfortunately I failed. You had Democrats and Republicans, this is President Clinton, Alan Greenspan, Robert Rubin, all these guys, coming together, and they got the deregulation. Well, 8 years or so later, 10 years or so later, what you saw happen is that the economy crashed as a result of the recklessness and illegal behavior on Wall Street. Mm-hmm. So what we're saying right now is that after bailing out these guys, by the way, let me just say this, because they were too big to fail. You remember that, John?
Oh, yes.
They were too big to fail. Turns out the 3 out of the 4 largest banks in America today are larger than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. So what people like Elizabeth Warren and I and others are saying is that we have to reestablish those walls so that so that you have separate entities. If you want to be insurance, be in insurance. You want to be an investor bank and be, engaged in highly speculative activity, that's fine, but the taxpayers are not going to bail you out. You want to be a commercial bank, that's something different. Bring back those walls. But I'll tell you what I also believe. When you have the 6 largest financial institutions in this country today, John, that have assets equivalent to 58% of our gross domestic product, when they issue 2/3 of the credit cards and 1/3 of the mortgages, you got another problem.
Right.
And that is not just the risk element. Will we have to bail them out again? you have just a tremendous concentration of ownership of wealth and power. And I think we should break up those banks.
Well, I think you are spot on with that, but with all the money involved and all the lobbyists and the donors and
Right.
the money that flows in, and it goes obviously into the campaigns of those that are behind this thing, it's tough to do. But as you said, I just want to reiterate what you just said. Banks are bigger today than they were before the
Three out of the four
bailout.
largest banks are much bigger than they were before we bailed them out. And your point, though, takes us to another issue.
Right.
And that is the political power of Wall Street. And, I'm very proud that my campaign does not have a super PAC. As I said, our average contribution is $27. My opponent, Secretary Clinton, is raking in a lot of money from Wall Street. And I know that everybody who receives money from special interests says it doesn't influence me, never influence me, never. But, I don't think the guys on Wall Street are dummies. And there's a reason why they make these contributions. But at the end of the day, you're seeing some conservative people, you're seeing some progressive people who do understand that when you have this kind of concentration of power and wealth, that for the future of our economy, we have to break them up so we don't have to bail them out again. And second of all, so that there's more competition in the financial marketplace.
Well, you would also take power from Wall Street and give it back to Main Street, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the other issue.
Yep.
Okay, Senator Sanders, while you and Secretary Clinton balloted out for union backing, Republicans are fighting to pass legislation in Congress like, for instance, the Employee Rights Act and reversing the decision to blacklist companies for labor infractions. What would a President Sanders administration look like in regards to labor reforms and companies and secret ballots and things like that?
Well, John, you're looking at a guy who was in the House of Representatives for 16 years and the Senate for 9 years. I have a 98% pro-union voting record. I believe that the middle class does well when unions do well. I believe that when workers are able to negotiate contracts, they're going to get better wages and they're going to get better working conditions. And by the way, this benefits not just union workers, but when wages go up for a certain segment of our society, it drives wages up for everybody. And I believe in that. I believe that what has happened over the last many years is many employers have broken the law and made it almost impossible for workers to be able to join a union. What they have said is, they have fired workers who have tried to form a union. They refused to negotiate a first contract if workers did succeed in forming a union. I think we need legislation to allow workers, guarantee workers, their constitutional right. This is called freedom of assembly.
Right.
Their constitutional right to form a union. And that means that if 50% of workers in a bargaining unit, plus one, sign a card that says they want to belong to a union, they should be allowed to have that union. And if employers refuse to negotiate, then there's got to be a penalty attached to that. The truth is that the middle class will grow when the trade union movement grows, and I believe in trade unions.
Okay, Senator, I want to get to foreign policy, and I want to start with the Syrian situation. There's been an infatuation, an obsession, if you will, with getting rid of Assad before we can do anything else. Do you share that view?
No,
or
I don't.
Would you be comfortable, like me, with just letting that work itself out?
Well, here's what we got. And, John, you've raised a very important issue.
Thank you.
In this sense, that we all know that today and in the past there have been horrible, horrible dictators in this world, and Assad is one of them. Gaddafi in Libya was another. Saddam Hussein in Iraq, another. And there are many of them. But what has happened too often in the past is our governments have said, look, this is a horrible dictator, we got to get rid of him, without thinking about what happens the day after you get rid of this guy. So I voted against the war in Iraq. Again, Secretary Clinton voted the other way. Because I really did appreciate, okay, Saddam Hussein is a brutal man, terrible guy. What happens the day after? What kind of political vacuum develops? And God only knows the chaos that we have seen in that country and in that region since. In terms of Assad, he is a dictator. He's a terrible person. But the major focus right now has got to be in destroying ISIS. and we've got to bring people together to destroy ISIS. I think that there is a way forward to get rid of Assad through a political agreement with Russia, with Iran, to get him out of that country. But the major focus right now has got to be on destroying ISIS.
Now, do you feel that the level of engagement we have right now is legal, or do you think that President Obama needs to come to Congress and get an AUMF?
Well, I have no problem with him coming to Congress for an AUMF, but the question is, what does that agreement look like?
Right.
Here's the bottom line for me, John. I think, and I agree with King Abdullah of Jordan, who made it very clear. He said that ISIS and other terrorist organizations, the need to destroy them is primarily on the shoulders of the Muslim nations themselves, because what ISIS and similar groups have done is hijacked Islam, the soul of Islam. And what has got to happen is, on the ground, we need a coalition, a strong coalition of Muslim troops taking on and destroying ISIS with the support of a coalition of major powers, including the United States and the UK and France and Russia, by the way. That's what has to happen. I will do everything that I can to see that the United States and the brave men and women in the military do not get sucked into perpetual warfare in the Middle East.
All right. Well, I think that that is very well said. I think you're going to take Hillary Clinton to Philadelphia. It's not easy taking on the Clinton machine, especially here in Virginia, where I think everybody that I've ever met on the other side is for Hillary Clinton. But make a prediction on Super Tuesday.
Yeah, we are taking on, not just in Virginia, John, we're taking on in every state that we have competed, the entire political establishment, virtually the entire political establishment.
Right.
And the money people and all of that. They're on Hillary's side. But you know what? We have ordinary working people, middle-class people, young people on our side. So I think, and what the polls are showing nationally and state by state, in almost every instance, is a tightening of the race. So I think we're going to surprise people on Super Tuesday. I think we're going to win a number of states. I think other states are going to be a lot closer than people have predicted. And remember, this is not a winner-take-all process. This is proportional representation. So we got a long way to go in front of us, and we're going to be fighting it out state by state by state. But bottom line is, I think on Super Tuesday, we're going to do a lot better than people think.
Okay, we want to thank Senator Bernie Sanders for being with us today. Thank you for your time, Senator. He's got a rally today. Doors open at 9:30 at the Scope. More information, go to BernieSanders.com.